Hola todos y todas. I'm going to be doing a video about Spanish rap, that is to say, rap in Spain. And at the very end of the video, I'll give you a little tour of some Spanish art that I have in my house, beyond this beautiful Iberico ham that I have, of all the things that the Spaniards do well. Ham may be the best. So I'm going to give you a little art tour at the end. I'm also going to give you a prediction of who is going to win the Euros 2024 final between England and Spain. I've made a lot of predictions this year about how football is going to go, and every single one of them has been wrong. Every single one. Somehow PSG didn't win the Champions League. So feel free to stay tuned to the end by reverse deduction figuring out who's going to win. So that's the idea. I'm going to be talking about Spanish rap. If you didn't see my video, I've been covering a different French rap song or album or movement every single stage that France has advanced in the Euros. And I made the promise, whatever team beats them, I will do a video on that country's rap, right? Now, first of all, France got robbed, okay? Spain should not have won just because Spain played better, had better defense, had better execution on offense, had a better team spirit, was coached better, and was in better form, and was better from set pieces, doesn't mean that they should have won the game. It's just not fair. But anyways, I'm a man of my word. So I am going to talk about Spanish rap. But before I do, I'm going to do the thing where I talk about why it's hard for me to talk about Spanish rap, my difficulty with it. First of all, as an American, there's a lot of biases that we have that we don't think about, right? I mean, everyone has biases, So I have a strong bias towards Spanish speakers from Central America and from the Caribbean and from South America, and from North America. That's generally when I think of Spanish, that's what I think about. That people who have taught me Spanish have been from Colombia and have been from Mexico. So my connection to Spain has always seemed a little bit far away because I have so many people near me and who live amongst me who are from that kind of Spanish-speaking population. But beyond that, it's not like I've never tried to dip my toe into the water of rap from Spain. But the issue is this, what interests me about rap music and hip-hop culture is its two functions. One, it is the voice of Black Americans, right? And that's its first and most important function. It is a product of and by and for that culture. But it's also, as I like to say, a tool that was invented by Black Americans that's been given to the rest of the world. An inexpensive tool that anybody can use to express themselves, especially if they are the voiceless. It can be the voice of the voiceless. I actually compare it to association football, to soccer. I compare it to football because all you need is a ball. You just need a ball and you can figure out how to play. All you need to be a rapper is just a voice. So when I would look at Spanish rap, or when I would kind of hear some of it, or have friends, I took a couple Spanish classes in my life, and sometimes they'd bring in songs that were popular to try to be hip. I was always kind of disappointed that it wasn't more about the voice of the voiceless. I mean, I don't know. I didn't hear any rap that was in Catalan, although I'm sure it exists, and maybe I'll do a video about that someday if Barcelona wins the Champions League again. Or any Basque music, or any rapping in Basque. And really, in my quick, informal survey, what I just saw was a lot of white, or I did not see any non-white faces making Spanish rap. Now, of course, I knew there must be some of them. But this kind of set an alarm bell. Because if you study rap in other cultures, often rap made by the dominant group, okay? Now, it doesn't have to be white. It can be whatever, by Japanese people in Japan, okay? Or whatever the dominant group is. It often does not use hip-hop in that second function. So obviously it can't be Black American. So if it's not the voice of the voiceless, what is it? It ends up being sort of a style thing, a cool, young, rebellious thing. Funny, it can be a novelty or it can be a well-executed piece of art, but it's more of a style. It's more of a fad. It's more like, hey, I can talk too. I can talk too. So that was the impression that I got. Now, if I sound to you like I'm being quite bigoted and just not at all worldly in my approach, I'm just giving you the frame of mind that I had. This video is great. even though they didn't deserve to win except by every possible metric. I am happy that Spain won because it forced me, or I forced myself, to come into contact with Spanish rap, because obviously the world is much more interesting than that. But here's the thing, when you study rap in Europe, it's most interesting in terms of its post-colonial presence. So in France, so much of what made it such a great country for rap music is because of the Senegalese or the Algerian or whatever, all over the world, all the former colonies, when the people would be asked to work in France or chose to work in France, a lot of that post-colonial energy, the voicelessness, came out. Same thing in England, with an Anglophone African immigrants and Caribbean, etc. So, when it came to Spain, I just sort of expected at some point to see a Stormzy pop up, or see, I don't know, and even an MC Solar, okay, who's the biggest name in French rap for a long time, but I just never saw it. And in conjunction with that, what little I was paying attention to international sport, when Spain had maybe the best international team of all time in 2012, I didn't see a reflection of a cosmopolitan, heterogeneous culture. I mainly just saw white Spaniards playing with other white Spaniards, and that was, to me, was strange. I was like, that can't possibly be a reflection of the country. It can't possibly be that way. That's why I find European soccer to be so fascinating, because it reflects the truth of the countries in a way that more mainstream stereotype images of the culture cannot. So when Jude Bellingham scores a goal, you're not thinking of the goddamn queen in her wrinkled face, okay? That's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about, oh, right, England is more than just the Tower Bridge. So it compounded on top of all these things where I didn't know. Now I did some research, and the thing I was curious about is what is immigration like in Spain? If I don't see it reflected in sports, and if it doesn't come to me in the music, what is the reality? The reality is there's a lot. There's over 2 million people from South America in Spain. And that's wild, because that happens a lot where former colonies move into the place that colonized them, but they don't have an ocean between them. That's pretty wild. That's pretty interesting. Almost 1 million from Africa, mostly from Morocco, again a former colony. So I felt betrayed by the fact that my brief forays into Spanish rap did not reveal any of this. But this year is obviously different. What do we know from sports? Who is the biggest superstar of the Euros? Speaking of Barcelona, Lamine Yamal. Okay, a kid who's barely older than my daughter, and that's cool. I hope he stays healthy. I hope he doesn't turn into Pedri, but we'll see. He's the superstar, and this is what I've been waiting for. His mother's from Equatorial Guinea, one of the very few colonies in Africa. When Africa was divided up by the Catholic forces and all that stuff, Equatorial Guinea was given to Spain, and so that's in Lamine Yamal's personhood. His father was from Morocco. Same basic question. How cool and fascinating and interesting is it that the biggest star from Spain has 2 different parts of African colonization and immigration and integration wrapped up in his body, and then the biggest star from France, who now plays in Spain, the biggest star from France, Mbappe, has Algerian mother and Cameroonian father. The same basic idea. Even the other great winger for Spain, Nico Williams Jr., his parents are from Ghana. So you're like, well, Ghana wasn't a Spanish colony. No, but his family made the trek across the country to go to Melilla, which is an autonomous city controlled by Spain in Africa. It's like the whole history of the world is wrapped up in these athletes. And it's fascinating and it's important because athletics is a meritocracy. To a certain degree, rap music is a meritocracy because it's a competitive art. That's why we see so many people who are underrepresented in other areas of society and in the corridors of power reach such a stage, because you cannot be prejudiced against when you are just good. And it's not like Mbappe couldn't be an amazing statesman. He couldn't be an amazing business person. He could, but he did not have access to that. His kids will, but he won't. So that's my first kind of issue, a sort of weird kind of, I don't know, anti-Spain chauvinist question. And then on top of that, I'm a French professor, and like everyone's trying to learn Spanish and not French. And so I've often had a friendly rivalry with my fellow teachers in language. And then the other problem is, hey, have you tried looking up Spanish rap music? Go ahead. Go to Google and type in, because I wanted to learn. Type in the best Spanish rappers. The first 30 results are the best Spanish language rappers. And they're all from Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. All of them are. Because Spanish rap doesn't mean rap from Spain. It's a weird reverse colonial problem. It's funny, it's like, you ever think about the fact that like English people playing rock and roll is like reverse colonialism? Like they founded our country and then we made this music and then we dominate their airwaves with our music. And even when you just type in rap from Spain, I just tried to find what's the biggest hits now. It's a lot like the French charts. It's not very good. It's actually mostly reggaeton style rap music with lots of singing, which is not my favorite kind of rap. It's kind of an epidemic in Europe. So I'm like, more weird reverse colonialism, where everyone in Spain is trying to sound like they're from the Dominican. Do you get why this is fun? Like why this? I understand I haven't talked about music yet, and you're 11 minutes in. But do you get like why this is so fascinating? The kinds of things you can understand about the world in terms of like global culture and globalization and post-colonial questions and cultural questions and interchange. It's great. So what am I going to do? What am I going to do for the remainder of this video? Well, thank God, some of you helped me out. Some of you saw my video and you knew. I said I will cover the rap of any country that beats France. Okay? So, 3 of you messaged me or left comments that I saw. If you sent me other ones, I'm sorry, I just didn't see it. I get a lot of comments. So first, I'm going to do it in order. I'm going to take you on a little tour. I'm going to talk about Fricos. Thanks to Fair3, who suggested this, I believe, in a DM on Instagram. And the song, Me Gustan Gordas. I'm sorry, I speak Spanish like I am on the radio in Los Angeles. .com! Okay, so Me Gustan Gordas. First of all, this is very useful as a Spanish learner because Me Gustan Gordas, like that teaches you how to say I like something. And gustan is in the plural, even though you're saying I like, because that's the weird formation of gustar, because gustar is a very strange verb. So, me gustan gordas, I like the fat ones. First of all, my baby loves we listened to the song 3 times in a row. It was like better than like the Wiggles. Like she was just going nuts over this song. Now, first of all, the band itself is interesting. Now, they are not the biggest band of the earliest waves of Spanish hip-hop. So based on my research, and please tell me if I'm wrong, if you are an expert in Spanish rap, ayúdame, por favor, okay? Dame comentario. But as far as I can tell, really, the reaction to rap in Spain was pretty delayed. And its first kind of significant wave was in the late 90s, early 2000s, like a full decade after France, right? And a lot of it happened in the city of Zaragoza. I don't know how to pronounce that properly in Spanish. I think of it as Zaragoza because that's where Roland was beaten by the Moors in the Chanson de Roland. He was actually beaten mostly by people from Spain in reality. But it was changed in the story to be more anti-Muslim. That's a whole nother story. One of the oldest written down stories, the Song of Roland. But it's an unpredictable place to start with Spanish rap. It's not the biggest city. There's less than 1 million people there, right? So that's already kind of interesting. The biggest band from there is this Violencias, something like the Dead Poets Society, but in Spanish. And I would have reviewed them because they're more important. But hey, Fair 3 told me to listen to Fricos, so I did. And I picked this one song. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do 5 songs because I was going to just do one album, but I want to get into like more of a survey. Okay, very fun production, Cuban sounding horns. Bam, 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 ba, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Ah, bum, 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 ba, dun. Dun, dun, bum, ba, dun. Ah. That little laughing sound, that's what got my baby. She's almost 2 years old. There's also, I think, a Tickle Me Elmo song. That's 2 videos in the last week where I believe they sample the Tickle Me Elmo. Excellent production all the way through. Very catchy. What's the song about? I think it's about having sex with overweight women. Is that a metaphor? Is that a metaphor for like a fatty, like a big old spliff, hash and whatever the hell? I don't think so. I think it's just about having sex with overweight women, which kind of is an inauspicious beginning, okay? And if you look at the album cover, it's just like 3 dudes in their 20s, 3 white dudes in their 20s. This is going to that sort of weird question of like, are these guys rapping because they have something really important to say and they have to represent for their city and they have to represent for their culture? Or are they just some party dudes who kind of got together and realized they could do this fun thing that they're doing over in America and just kind of throw it out there? I don't know. It also includes a dubbed clip from the movie Exit Wounds, where if you watch the original, you get to see Anthony Anderson and Tom Arnold dubbed over from this Steven Seagal movie. A very, very weird sample. So that's my first introduction song, okay? I'll include links in the description. If you want to hear, no, please listen to all these songs. They're all great. They are all great songs. I'm kind of clowning on the song because it's a goofy song. It's one of those kind of like almost novelty songs. But it's very well made and very well rapped. But then we're going to get a little bit more serious. And I want to thank Pablo Hernandez, who's been a longtime viewer of the channel, a longtime commenter, who suggested I look into someone named Ero Pro, who is from Madrid and his family is from Nigeria. That's a different question of immigration, right? That's not a former Spanish colony, but still, we are living in a very global age, right? So if you look him up, what I try to do is I try to go like the very popular songs from each artist. His most popular song is a song he did with Il Pequeño. The song is called Calle Cortada. It's from 2021, okay, so I'm jumping way ahead, and you can see the development. This is like a Mobb Deep style drum beat, really cool, this growing flute sound to accentuate the bass. And it starts off with this guy, Il Pequeño, which is a great name, because like, il is how you say like he or the, right? Like that's, if you're trying to like describe something, it means the small one. But he spells it I-L-L, like ill, because he's ill, right? So it's kind of a playing around with the language and American slang. And he does a lot of English words and Japanese, and he's from Madrid, which I think is pretty important, because Madrid is sort of the center of a lot of Spanish culture. I'm not going to like weigh in on the whole Catalan thing. The weird thing about studying Spanish and Spain versus England is France was so good at centralizing that a lot of the problems that Spain has were settled like a couple hundred years ago when just the fist of power just crushed. Anyways, it's a whole other thing to study. Some very funny pronunciation here. Power Rangers. He's talking about Power Rangers. He says Vicks Vapor Rub, but he says Vaporuz. I don't know why it's pronounced Zuz instead of that. And then we get the Hoke, H-O-K-E. Okay, maybe it's how it's pronounced. We'll talk more about him because I want to talk about an entire song of him, but he's got this beautiful, tired voice. He seems like the best example of the possibilities of the Spanish from Spain language in rap. It seems like his ability to rap with this just very smooth and interesting way, it seems like he might be like the best wordsmith that I've heard of rap from Spain in Spanish with the accent, okay? Because it's a different accent. They say things differently. One of the lyrics is about having Nazis in the soccer stadium in Valencia, where he's from. Valencia is, so we're kind of jumping all over the place. Zaragoza's kind of north, kind of like in the middle, but sort of north and east. And then Valencia is all the way in the east, kind of in the middle on the coast. And there's a team there, and there are literally Nazis in the soccer stadiums. And that's one of the weird things about European sports. you can have all these great black stars, and you can have literal Nazis literally doing Nazi stuff literally in the stadium. You know, can you imagine going to a Buffalo Bills game and there being just, you know, a couple hundred dudes who legitimately think that Hitler was right? That's the reality of European soccer. Very complicated. I like hearing it here. There's a lot of football references in all the Spanish rap that I listen to, which makes sense because it's so important. And then we get to Ero Pro's verse, just killer flow, very heavily accented, references Ultralight Beam. And then at the end, it samples Ghostface Killah's 6 to 7 masked men came in blasting, yo. So then I came in blasting. And that's cool. And that's a song off of Fish Scale that they're quoting 3 Bricks. And it's nice hearing like kind of Wu-Tangy stuff in here. Puts you in this style. I'm going to just do one more bonus song from Ero Pro. The song is called Caligula. It's from his solo album. God damn it, this is great. This is great. Please have more people watch this video. Encourage me and the algorithm to get me to cover more Spanish rap because I really like this Ero Pro song. He starts off with this crazy run, okay? He starts off with this crazy run, which I'm going to try to sort of show you the possibilities of Spanish rap, and it's okay. So, soy un rey apuñalado como Caligula, doy conocimiento que no puedes tú manipular. Mucho rapero tiene la cuenta cero a cero, pero la coges por el centro y como bailo su mandíbula. So he's doing like a lot of internal rhymes here with this O sound, but there's even like the lo and to and no solamente. It creates this really great rhythm, and then this multisyllabic end rhyme, which he does out here, this ula, so Caligula, manipular, mandibular. It's a very interesting rhyme scheme. It's done in a very easy, not sort of try hard way, and it's great. It's the potential of the language, you know? The next song I'd like to cover is called Olympique. This is by Hoke, H-O-K-E. I think they'll be pronounced Oke? I don't know. And Louis Amoeba. Thanks to Antonio for suggesting I look into Oke. This is from 2023, and holy God, this is a great album. I listened to the whole album. I was this close to just talking about this album, but I wanted to do the other stuff too, to give myself a better, more full vision of what rap in España is like, okay? It's more of the moment, you know, he has some kind of drill bass, cleaner production, cleaner vocal sounds. It feels a lot less underground. He's got this mastery of flow that's just great. It's weird because he was in the last song, and he was like very kind of relaxed and subdued, and that was great. But here he's still kind of subdued. It's missing a little bit of the rawness because the voice is just super well produced. It builds amazingly before cutting out. And then I didn't pick this on purpose. I just picked this song because this was like the most popular song off of that album, according to like streaming numbers. And it's all about France. He talks about Corte Français, which I think a French cut, I don't even know what that means, but he talks about that. He shouts out Lalo. Lalo is a rapper whose song I talked about in this very series. I talked about Nouveau Punk, right? It's the killer song that 1,000 of you learned about thanks to this goofy ass idea I got going on here. He raps in French. He actually says like tout le monde, I think. He talks about Alpha One, another rapper. Even the term Olympique, I think, is in reference to the greatest soccer team in all of Europe, l'Olympique de Marseille. Okay? The greatest soccer team in the history of Europe. Name one team that's won more Champions Leagues from France than them. You can't do it. They're the greatest. Tell me in the comments if you can name one team half as good as l'Olympique de Marseille. You can't do it. I don't pick up everything because my level of Spanish is intermediate at best, but I believe he talks about, professors not believing in him, kind of multiple flows. There is one video that I made a long time ago on Juan Wouters where I did the entire video in English and then in Spanish. Pero no es muy bien. Hay muchos problemas con el vocabulario. hay mucha confianza, pero hay muchos problemas con las palabras que uso in este video. But this whole album is just killer. I'm very excited. I might, listen, if you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, Dios mío, el profesor Cielo habla de rap de español. If you're saying that, then just send me a message next time. Okay, next time Ergo Flow or OK comes out with an album, you hit me up in the comments. I want you to bomb my comment section. I'll find those things and I'll do at least one of them, okay? Because I want to stay up. I want to stay up with what these guys are doing. They're doing some great stuff. And then I'm going to end things with something that I just discovered on my own of the sort of more poppy rap, because we got to represent poppy rap as well. Mala Rodriguez and her song Brava. One of my best friends is Spanish, Ismael. He's from Coruña, which is this area like kind of in the northwest. Very interesting stuff, you know. So I sort of talk about having like an anti-Spain bias, but you know, I talk to more Spaniards than Frenchmen in my daily life. A little too, in general, this album, I listened to it. She's been around for a long time. It's weird because she's from Cadiz, which is in the way south, but she lives up in Barcelona, which is in the way north. In general, it's a little bit more poppy. This song is not, though. This song is just great. Now, it has a lot of those kind of Latin rhythms, like, you know, from the Caribbean, but she has this style. Her voice is just so raspy. No te pido que me salves. Oh my God. The way she just keeps on saying that. No te pido que me salves. If you are learning Spanish, this is one of the best things you can do. Any language. Just take one sentence and get it stuck in your head and then reverse engineer it. So listen, I have trouble with the past tense in Spanish, okay? But this has helped me because I figured out what this means, right? I did not ask for you to save me, okay? So I see a change of subject and I see a que. So I think that salves is subjunctive. So already I think I have some subjuntivo in my head, right? And then like the te pido, so that's the past tense. I know that pides is you ask, but okay, this is in the past. So no te pido que me salves. This really helps me in my head to have a sentence where I can reverse it in my head and apply that to other verbs if I want to put them in the past tense. You can do this with movies as well. I've watched The Empire Strikes Back in Spanish several times, and one of my favorite lines is, apology accepted, Captain Nita. And in Spanish, it can be tricky to figure out the present participle and the past participle, okay? So the past participle is do, and the present participle is ndo, right? So that's the difference between accepted and accepting. Right? He says, apology accepted, Captain Nita. He does not say, apology accepting, Captain Nita. So I memorized the way that he said that line. Discúlpame aceptado, Capitán Nita. Okay? Discúlpame aceptado, Capitán Nita. So that ado. So now in my head, whenever I try to put anything in the past tense in Spanish, and I might say ando, I have Darth Vader playing in my head. Discúlpame aceptado, Capitán Nita. Beautiful. Just a beautiful song all the way through. And now we're getting to the prediction part, okay? Now we're going to get to the culture part. So do you see what I did right there? I went through Spanish rap from some of the earliest old school things to what's happening right now. Multiple different people from different experiences from different parts of the country to show you, yes, indeed, there's a lot of great rap happening in Spain. And now I'm going to take you on my Spanish art tour before giving you my prediction of who is going to win the Euro Championship. Now my baby's down here and she's pretty excited. She actually calls me Papi, so if you are Spanish, that's the voice, that's the term that I choose. So I'm just going to give you a little tour. So my dad, for some reason, so I inherited some art from my dad, and he had a lot of Spanish art. And I don't know why. But this is actually a piece that I had fixed, because it got all messed up. The paper got all messed up. It's by a guy named Jose Guerrero, who is a pretty important abstract artist from Spain, and I've loved this piece my entire life. And it used to be all yellowed and all mixed up, but I had my paper guy fix it. This is a painting that my brother did, my brother Bart, and he didn't even know that he was doing an impersonation of that. But this is just hung in our house, you know, for like ever. Let's see. Also, hi, I'm talking on a video. This is Salvador Dali, and it's a God creating the earth. It's a print, and I really like it. I've looked at this my whole life as well. So, you know, a lot of real Spanish art here. I'm gonna have to step over the baby gate. If you remember my video about what's your face, Charlie XCX, that's a plate, a Picasso plate, which he sold for very cheap back in the 60s and 70s. My dad probably paid like $30 or something for that, or whatever. So that's pretty cool. But now we have the pièce de résistance, okay? And this is how this is the perfect piece of art to explain the European final. Are you ready? I don't think you are. This is the European final in art form. This is Salvador Dali's print that he made for the Print Club of Cleveland in 1947. And what is that an image of? It is an image of St. George slaying the dragon. Okay? St. George slaying the dragon. What do you call the cross on the English flag? It's called the St. George. Who's the patron saint of England? It's St. George. So that's the question, right? Who's St. George? Who's the dragon? Is Spain the dragon and St. George is going to defeat? But it's a Spanish artist. Right? Is there not a better image you could possibly have to represent this Euro final? Okay? So who's going to win? Spain's going to win. 2-0. I'm sorry, England. I have mostly English fans. I have way more English fans than Spanish fans, but it's going to be 2-0. But Yamal's not going to score. Everyone's going to be disappointed because they're going to want to say how young he is over and over and over again, but they're not going to. It's going to be Williams and that Olmo creep. All right. So there you go. 2-0. The first goal is going to be in like the first 5 minutes, and then the last goal is going to be in extra time. That's my prediction. And allez les bleus. There's the camera.